Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you. And today, boy, are we going to educate you. We got a special gem of an episode lined up for you. I have a dear friend of mine, the one and only Roy Snarr. I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman in Dallas, Texas at an epic event. And I'll tell you what, let's welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, Mr. Roy Snarr. What's going on, my brother?
What's up, man? Thank you so much for having me on. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to this. You know, you're from Texas, I'm from Texas, and I know the amazing human being you are, Roy. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, please.
Great, thanks. My name is Roy Snarr. I'm an asset protection specialist, and we help thousands of people all across the country, including agents, make a difference in people's lives by helping protect all of their assets through insurance strategies. So that's what we do. We have a passion for it. And I can get into my personal story whenever you want to about how I got into this place.
Yeah, well, you know, I tell you what, just the fact that you're an amazing human being and it's hard to meet good people. We know one thing that one misbelief that so many people have is, well, there's not good people out there. And I'll tell you, when I met you, you're just an example of great, beautiful people, man. And that's what I loved about you. We just kind of bonded in Dallas, and just the more time I get to see you, I get to spend time with you. It's like the real Roy Snarr comes out. And, you know, one thing I love about you, man, is you're not embarrassed to be you. I think so many business owners right now, they have an identity crisis.
They do.
Because they listen to their coach, they listen to their mentor, they listen to their Uncle Joe, and Uncle Joe is the janitor, and Uncle Joe doesn't know anything about business. And what I mean about that is it causes an identity issue when you listen or try to be somebody you're not.
Right.
And all your content that I see, like, you're a straight up cowboy. And I love that about you because you dress Western, you are Western, and you embrace that. Yeah. And that's who makes Roy. Where does that come from, man?
You know, to your point there, a lot of times in business, people, they may put on a front. They could be really good people, but the front is it's a shield of insecurity. And, you know, I actually had that for a long time. You know, when I first started in this practice of financial services, specifically insurance, I would wear the suit, the tie, but it was never really me. But I didn't feel comfortable being me because I wasn't confident in myself. And it took time to develop that confidence. Now I speak in front of thousands of people, and I'll wear my cowboy boots and belt buckle, and I don't really care. And it also just shows who I am and the realness of it. And it took a while to develop that. And I've always been very, very country, very rural. And so I've lived in California. That's where I was originally born, and then lived in the Midwest, and then recently positioned myself back here in Texas. And I just love it. I love the culture that Texas has to offer. And, you know, just being myself is the number one key thing. And I think that's what a lot of people need to start doing. It's like, you don't have to put on this front. I mean, sometimes you have to dress a certain way for a profession, sure, but always be yourself, and don't be insecure or shy about telling your stories. Because I would never, if we had this interview, you know, just 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I wouldn't tell you that I had insecurity problems. I'd be too insecure to tell you. But the more vulnerable you are, the more real you become, because we all go through the same thing.
Well, you know, you said something interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show where, you know, I tell you, get out your pen, get out your paper, because Roy's about to drop some massive wisdom. And you know, the wisdom behind taking notes, what you write down, you retain over 50% of it in your subconscious mind. So I don't want you just to listen to this episode. I want you to study it, that you can really be impacted at a deeper level. So take notes, and that way you can go back and study your notes. You said something interesting there. You are a cowboy at heart, and you put on a suit. How long did you wear that suit? And then how did you feel inside that suit? Because I believe there's somebody listening and watching this episode right now that they've never taken off the suit. And they're so unhappy because that's not who they are. Or you have somebody listening to this episode saying you have to be like this, and they're not who they are, right? Naturally, you're never too tall, you're never too short, you are who you are. But somebody has that suit on, or better yet, like you said, they're wearing that mask just to be somebody in business or to belong to a community that they're not. It doesn't line up with their core values. First of all, answer that. How long did you wear the suit and how did it make you feel? Because I want people to take off the fake suit today and to
Right.
take off that mask that they can be themselves like you are.
Well, thank you for that. And the suits, it's mainly a metaphor, right? Because in a physical context, the suit that I wore was like the button-up shirt, the slacks. I never felt comfortable in it, but then I started slowly developing comfort in it. But I felt like I had to do it to impress others because I was so concerned about what other people thought of me. And it's important that you come off as a good person and that you are a good person. But at the same time, like, you don't have to overcompensate. And that's what I was doing. I was overcompensating. And a lot of times people will do that with their successes in business. They will overcompensate, which is a sign of security. Like behind me, this is a tacky looking whiteboard. That's okay though. I don't need to show off all the awards and everything. I don't need to do that. Now, there was a time in my life that I felt that I needed to do that because I never had success before. So every little level I received of success, I wanted to show it all off, right? And now I don't need to do that. And so what people have to ask themselves is like, are you really comfortable? Are you really being you right now? Because if you're not, then you can always change it. That's the best part of it. And if you're not happy in a particular position or a career and you feel stuck, think of it this way. You can always make more money. You can't make more time. So what is that time worth to you, right? You're never going to get it back. You can always go back and get another job in the same field. So you have to make those changes. And, I have to constantly self-audit myself, especially with time, my mental attitude, what I say, because what you speak becomes reality. I mean, that's proven through MIT science, right? And so it's a constant self-checking regulatory thing. And that's why you need to have coaches and mentors a part of your affiliation in your group, because you got to bounce ideas off of them because they have a different perspective. Because oftentimes you'll develop your own perspective. You'll talk yourself into things. And the worst thing that you can do is justification. You start justifying everything and creating reasons for it and excuses, and then you live a mundane life. And so that's something that I'm always constantly struggling and working on, is like, I don't want to have this mundane life. Let me do a self-audit. Let me talk to some other people. Am I doing the best that I can do? And am I feeling like I'm doing it because it's from me and not influenced by somebody else?
Boom, baby. What did I tell you? This guy is loaded, man. You just unloaded a whole that was the episode right there. Listen to what he said. Listen to what he said. Write this down. Are you being you? No, like really, you listening to this episode, watching us on YouTube, are you being genuinely you? Or are you wearing the slacks, the shirt, like Roy said, just to make other people happy or to make yourself feel better? Nothing wrong with slacks, nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I love wearing a suit every once in a while. I can sport a suit and I can wear the jeans and rock the black t-shirt because that's just what I do. But ladies and gentlemen, you know what comes to mind right now, Roy? Honestly, what you said is there's so many people stuck in a career and maybe even as an entrepreneur that they hate. And when you said that, right, because you're there, and I thought of all the people that I've known that grow up and they tell us as kids to be doctors and lawyers, and they're stuck in that position of being a lawyer and they hate it because they don't realize that sometimes at night you're going to take a big old crate home and you got to that's the beginning of your day in the evening because you got to start studying the caseload. And then they stay up till midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning studying the case because they have court in the morning. And they never realize it, right? As kids, we hear this from our parents. Grow up and be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a CPA. And if we don't achieve that, but I know so many people that do, somebody needs to hear this. Maybe you're in the job you're right now, you're doing because your mom and dad, they're trying to live through you.
Yeah.
And it's sad because it's like you're in prison because you don't have the freedom. And that's why over 70% of corporate employees are disengaged right now. That's why when COVID happened, engagement went up because you didn't have the environment there. And now people weren't being micromanaged. This is the key, right? People weren't being micromanaged by micromanagers because Maybe they're not that suit person like you weren't, but you had the boldness, you had the courage to take off the suit, to remove the mask. And I really believe that this episode is going to help people unveil the mask and to allow themselves to be the real you, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, to your point there, we all grew up conditioned, right? So in our first few years and even all throughout life, we're constantly downloading information from this matrix that we live in, right? We're constantly downloading it. And so that's why, like, every morning with our kids, I always do affirmations with them every single morning. And I help train them, like, you need to feel it. So when you feel like love for your baby brother or your baby sister, you know, that feeling in your heart, they go, yeah. I go, okay, now have that feeling when you say your affirmations. Because oftentimes we grow up, money doesn't grow on trees. You know, we can't afford that. We can't go do this. We can't. Parents are miserable, stuck in work. And then the kids download all that and they don't know any better, right? I mean, they are enculturated in this ideology that this is where life is and that there are people that have stuff, but they'll never have that, which is totally untrue. And there's a lot of great parents out there that are just wonderful people. And they just haven't conditioned their mind correctly. They've never taken the time to do the self-audit, to really explore, hey, look, what can I actually do to change my life and make an impact on my kids? And so these kids, they grow up the same way. And that's where we have this repetitive cycle. And this is why there's so few people that actually achieve success, because they're stuck in this archaic paradigm of belief systems. That's all it is. I mean, there's a great story. I heard it a long time ago by Ed Milet. And it talked about the circus elephant. They chained the circus elephant as a little baby to this little tiny wooden stake. And as a baby, it would just tug on it and it couldn't go anywhere. When the elephant grew up to be a massive elephant, they ties it to the same little tiny wooden stake and it believes it can't move it. And it never does. It could rip that whole thing off in the tent. That's the power of belief. So you have to change your own beliefs and your perception of yourself because it impacts so many people around you.
Wow. I love that story, by the way. I use that a lot too. I think I learned that when I was in school, right? How you just, because there was a study when I was in high school, how a circus elephant, it just went crazy and it squashed the car, squashed all these things. But it's like, they were like, what happened? And somebody in the news was talking about that sometimes they've been incarcerated so much in the circus, right?
Yeah.
That thing mistreated. And they finally just snap one day. And I think that happens to humans beings sometimes, right? We're like that baby elephant that's in that, we have that baby elephant. I won't say we're not that baby elephant, but we have the baby elephant mentality and we stay stuck and imprisoned. And you know what word came to mind when you said that? We get domesticated as parents, as leaders,
Right.
and we get comfortable and nothing kills your dreams more like contentment because you're
Oh,
content.
yeah.
Because this is, you know, when you said that, you know what came to mind is like many people in their mindset, now that we're talking about this, is, well, I'm not so bad. Look, I came further than my mom and dad. I live in a nicer neighborhood than my dad does and my mom did. Like, right? I'm doing okay. And then we settle right there.
Right. Yeah. I just think about when you're a kid, like, I'm going to be an astronaut, I'm going to be a firefighter, whatever it may have been. Like, you have so much imagination because you don't have the self-limiting beliefs yet. You don't know any better. Right. And then we lose that childhood ambition all the time, but you need to keep maintaining that. Like, whatever you want to become, you can truly become. You just have to put in the work and the effort to do that. But I love looking at those differences. Like, even my kids today, this real life experience, you know, they'll say, well, I want to be a veterinarian because I love animals. Okay, great. You know, it's not like we're going to try and say, oh, no, you can't be a veterinarian. That's ridiculous. You can't do that. But the world says that to us constantly through the challenges we have to go through. It's really easy to get beat up in this world. And the one thing we have to focus on is our self-development. That's worth more than anything in the world because nobody can take it away from you, right? And it's something you can
Yeah.
continuously work on. You can go to college, get a degree, spend all kinds of money, and that's fine if you want to do that. But at the same time, if you just were to reinvest into yourself at a fraction of the cost and spend the same 4 years on personal development, you can literally change the whole world.
Yeah. People, you know, I love what we're talking about because you're a unique story. You know, people don't realize, people see businesses, flower shops, bakeries, lawn services, mechanical shops, whatever it is. Most businesses never hit that $1 million threshold when it comes to revenue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the exact percentages, but I know it's over 70%. Never hit $1 million in revenue. Most small businesses.
Right.
What shifted in you? You were just country boy. Like you just said, you heard money doesn't grow on trees from your mom and dad. I can't afford that. Walk us through the process. Give us three things that you did, because I want the audience to take away something, a strategy from you, because we hear something, right? Sometimes we develop these filters within our mind where we hear something differently from somebody. So I want to hear the way you describe it. What did you have to change? What are three strategies that went from money doesn't grow on tree to now you have a business that's well generating over $1 million in revenue?
Yeah, I think, well, a lot of it like, stems from my past. I've always wanted to do something different. I just didn't know how. I had no sense of direction. Right. So number one, people need to develop at least the curiosity. Like, what could it be like if I did change something? Right. And then you have to then you have to spend the time on knowledge. And then you have to spend the third part, which is implementation of it and continuously practicing it. So when I was about 14 years old, my mother became disabled. She was sideswiped by a driver and it accelerated her degenerative disc disease. So she lost her job, lost the car, a divorce came about it through my stepdad. Like our whole lives changed. And then we moved to my grandparents' house. I was in the middle of high school. Like everything dramatically changed, all from one single life event, which is very interesting. So that always stuck with me really hard. Like, my goodness, how could one tiny accident change the outcome of a family entirely? And so that always really stuck heavily with me. And then my curiosity to learn more and do something different, I stumbled upon an insurance company that I recruited myself into at that point in time. And then I started learning about all these different things you can do and bubble charts and how much money you can make. And I was like, I didn't even think that was possible. I had no concept of anything, but I would have never even gotten to that point if I didn't at least have the curiosity. And I think today people need to develop that curiosity. And it's not for everyone, but if you have that little inkling saying like, I wonder if I did something different, start exploring and opening your mind up, and you will attract things in your life. Like, there's no way. I was doing college full time. I was a tow truck driver. And then all of a sudden I told all my friends, guess what? I'm in the financial services. I'm going to do insurance. And I started dressing differently. They're like, who are you? What are you talking about? You'll never make it, blah, blah, blah. So I got rid of all those loser friends. And guess what? Those loser friends are still in the same spot. You know what I mean? So I developed that curiosity and I learned what could happen. And then I said, wow, now that I've learned this, how do I implement it? And that's the continuous journey. And I tell people all the time, like, you don't have to be that smart. I mean, I'm not that smart. I'm just determined. I couldn't even pass math in college. That's the only class I failed in every time. But, and ironically, I'm in financial services, but it's one of those things where if you just have the determination and the heart, you can make it. See, most people just, they stop 3 feet from gold.
I love what you're talking about. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
A huge step, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to write this word down: implementation. What do you know right now that you're not implementing, ladies and gentlemen? What do you know right now? You have it inside your heart. You have it inside your mind. You have it inside of you because you've gone to a conference, you've read a book, and you know it and it speaks to you, but you're scared to implement it. What is it that you need to implement? Implementation is key. That's what got Roy to where he's at right now. Let me ask you this, Roy. So implementation, because I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna. I want to go deeper on this because not everybody has a business like you do in that revenue bracket. What did you implement? Like, what are 2 things that you implemented that our audience can take away? Because I love what you're talking about, right? A, be more curious. B, right now you have to implement it. So what did you do to implement the information? And of course, one strategy, ladies and gentlemen, and don't miss what Roy just said. I'm gonna tell you back what Roy just said. He let go of his friends, and he let go of some of his loser friends. And Roy doesn't mean that disrespectful, but the point is this: is that if you're still hanging around with the same old people on the corner drinking beer every single Saturday, and your life's not getting better, you're still that same old guy that says, "Oh man," playing that victim. You need to surround yourself with new people that are going to be where you want to be. Right. Talk to us about that, Roy, about what are 3 things that you implemented or a couple of things you implemented, the implementation part of it.
With number one, I had to, like the old adage says, you can't soar with the eagles if you're on the ground with the turkeys. That's what my mom always told me. So I had to start looking at the people I was surrounding myself with and seeing where they're going. I'm like, well, they're not going where I want to go. So I need to start getting out of that environment. So you attract like things, right? And I was attracting that type of environment, and I didn't want to be in that anymore because it wasn't going towards my goal. So one of the number one things is that I started developing was self-confidence and personal beliefs. I had to change my complete everything. I had to re-hardwire my brain. And interesting enough, MIT did a study that they actually shown that after 21 days, you can change and alter your own DNA through affirmations and personal belief changes, which is amazing. And so I started implementing that. I read every book I could. I read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I don't know how many times. How to win friends and influence people. Earl Nightingale. All these things. I started studying it because I saw other people where they were at, and I wanted to be where they were at. And how did they get there? So I started studying other people. And then from that point, I said, okay, I need to choose an avenue in order to implement this, in order to create a revenue. What do I really want to do? Well, what do I like? I like talking with people. I don't like sitting behind a computer and doing spreadsheets all day. That's just not me. So I said, what can I do to talk with people and also feel, rewarded by helping them? And then insurance just happened to be my calling. I mean, I literally stumbled upon that, and it's not for everyone. Maybe it's real estate, maybe it's some other personal owned business, but you have to develop once you have the curiosity and you start building your self-beliefs, then you have to figure out what would you really want to do to help other people. And if you have the focus on, I just got to make money for myself, it's going to be really hard. But what do you really enjoy doing? And then how can it benefit other people? And then there's a field or a craft or some way to generate revenue from that. Then you just drill down a niche on that. And that's what we ended up doing. And that's what's led to our success. And it definitely wasn't overnight. It was an overnight success after 10 years. So it takes a while to get there. And I think that's a lot of the challenges. We live in a world of instant gratification. I mean, even if I order something on Amazon and it says it'll be delivered in 2 days, I'm like, this is insane. 2 days? Like, this is crazy. And so we live in this world like we want everything right now. And you have to play the long game. And it's hard because during that journey of the long game, you're constantly questioning yourself if you're doing the right thing. But that's where the foundation of personal belief and knowing what and you're going to get there because you're doing the right steps, then it makes it easier during that journey. As long as you just stay focused on it, it can come true for you.
I love it, man. So you said books was a huge part of what you do. What 2 books do you recommend the most right now to somebody listening to this episode?
Yeah. Number one, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right? I mean, because it's a classic book written in the 1920s and it was compiled from the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it doesn't have any social media influence or anything. It's just raw, hardcore material. Another great book is your book, Making the Millionaire Mind. That book's amazing. I have not gone through all of it yet because it's on my list, but just the little bits of tads that I pulled from it is amazing. You should definitely get your own book. And then How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Power of Positive Thinking, The 48 Laws of Power. But, if I had to condense it all down, I would definitely start with Think and Grow Rich, your book, and then How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because no matter what practice you're in, unless you're going to be a software developer, you need to learn how to communicate with people. Because once you have that skill, then you can do anything in the world that you want.
I love that, man. So you personally, right? Talking about thank you and so much. Thank you for the plug in our book. I mean,
yeah,
we really try to put a quality product. We just launched that on Audible. But my question is, what are 2 of the biggest lies that you believed about money that really you struggled with, that you had to really kind of overcome? Because it's not easy. I'll tell you what, people don't realize that. I have this saying that I talk about in our boot camps, our Millionaire Mind boot camps, is you don't become a millionaire until, right? You don't become a millionaire, then you start thinking like, well, no, you think like a millionaire and then you become a millionaire. And people don't grasp that sometimes. So what are 2 of the beliefs about money that you had to really change that were just had a hold on you? Because I'll tell you what, I remember breaking a glass of wine one time because I was just so frustrated, because it's like you have to really kill that old identity, that older way of thinking. And it's hard. It has a hold of you. It's a stronghold. And it doesn't want to let you go, but you have to be stronger than it. What did you do? Tell us a couple of things you had to really fight through to have victory in your business, in your life.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll talk about, it's still a struggle now. It's like, well, because there's other things that I want to accomplish and I'm not quite there yet. And I'm a very impatient person. So practicing the long game is always a challenge to me. And I always have to re-audit myself. But the thing I thought about, I was like, okay, what do we all have equal? Time. Tim Cook at Apple, Elon Musk, whomever you're looking up to, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. If they could do it, why can't I? Are they that much more special or smart? Well, maybe, but at the same time, there's other people that may be less intelligent or even more intelligent. They also have the same 24 hours. So I started doing a time audit, because if you really look at your time, most of the time you could be wasting it. I mean, how many times do you spend on Facebook or YouTube that's not productive time, right? Or you talk with an old friend, not to sound like rude, but you talk with an old friend for 2 hours. Like, that's 2 hours you'll never get back. Could you have done something better with that 2 hours and had the same enjoyable conversation over 15 or 20 minutes? So I started doing a lot of these time audits on myself. Like, am I spending way too much time writing an email? How do I accelerate it? So that was one of the biggest things, is like looking at my actual time in order to get to that next level. And it's helped me dramatically. The other self-limiting belief I had originally is like, if I could just make $5,000 a month, I would be so amazed. That would solve all the problems in my life. So I would set very low ceilings for myself, because the reality of making, say, $100,000 in a year when I first started was astronomical. I'm like, my goodness, that would, I could buy a private yacht. I had no idea how money really worked. So now it's like we can generate that in 10 days, so it's different, but you have to set ceilings that are realistic, and then also higher ceilings for future goals. And so if I would have done that earlier in time, I think I would have been further along today. And this is where we implement and try to tell others, like, look, if you need to make $500,000 and that's your goal, why $500,000? Why not 500 million? Right? And so you want to set micro goals so you don't get so disappointed. So you say, I'm going to make $500,000 within the next 24 months, or whatever that number may be. And then in 5 years, I'm going to be at 10 million. And then you set yourselves these goals incrementally, because if you really look at it, it's debt ignorance. This is brought up by Alex Hermosi. And he talks about, like, if you were at 100,000 today and you want to get to 500,000, you have a $400,000 cost of lifestyle because of ignorance. Because you can get there, but you have to learn how to get there. So why aren't you practicing on filling that gap? And that's what I constantly do, is try to practice on filling that debt ignorance.
I love that, man. I have my check right here, where I'm paying myself $2.5 million in 2023.
Yeah.
So Daniel B. Gomez, 2,500,000.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me ask you this. Do you talk about it to other people, though? Because, right, when people ask me, I say it with confidence.
Yep.
I'm always talking about my goals, right? Well, this year we're going to earn $2.5 million. And you know what's amazing? I had no idea how the hell I was going to do it.
Right.
And I'm not there. But you know what? We're on pace now, because I started talking about it. And I think so many people, God gives them a dream. God gives them an idea, right? Like you're talking about, not 5,000. Why not 100,000 a year? It was far-fetched, but you started talking about, I'm a 6-figure earner. Did you do that to yourself? Did you talk about
all the time? I even saved pictures of whiteboards like this. And one of the whiteboards said 250,000 on it. And it was on that whiteboard for 4 years before it happened. Right. And I would always talk out loud about it. Even now, when I'm driving, I'll just start like talking out loud, my affirmations. Like, hey, this year, we're going to do over 2 million in revenue this year. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to build this big team. And then in 3 years, we're going to be at 10 million. I'm constantly talking to myself, because the more you talk about it, the more you internalize it and you believe it yourself, right? Yes. It's only true because we believe it. Look at money. Money is BS. It's just a piece of green paper that means absolutely nothing. It only has a perceived value because we believe it to hold that value, right? If everybody in the world said, hey, this is not worth anything, we need to go to something else, we would, right? There's no backing of it. So you have to develop this belief and internalize it. Then you start believing it. And then you have to imagine yourself already having it. Like, I already have it, right? And then it comes to you. So yes, I constantly say affirmations. And here's what's really important. People think it may sound hokey. Affirmations date back even in the emerald tablets and all throughout history. 36,000 years ago, there's people that talk about how you do affirmations. And it's been proven throughout history. Science has proven it changes your DNA. It can change the vibrational frequency in water. Your body's 70% water. So this is all real true stuff. But the mainstream and the whole world is trying to beat you down and tell you that it's not, because if you're ignorant, then you're controlled. And if you're docile, they can make rules and rule over you. That's just the reality. So you have to break out of those self-limiting beliefs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a part segment of the show. Great segment right here. What do you need to start talking about? Write that question down for yourself. What do I need to start talking about that I'm not talking much about? Think about that. If you're embarrassed to talk to yourself and say, maybe you're an entrepreneur that just started in business a year ago, 2 years ago, and you're struggling and you have that dream that you just wanted to get to 5,000. I can relate with that because I remember we would struggle just to get to 5,000. What do you need to start talking about more? Write that down. And then not only that, what do you need to start talking to yourself out about more? There's nothing wrong with talking with positive self-talk.
Right.
Internalize it. And because the more you internalize it, the more it registers in your subconscious mind, and then you start attracting the opportunities. So I really want you to take note of what you're writing down right now. What do I need to start talking about more? If you keep saying how slow business is, guess what? Business is going to stink and it's going to be slow for you. But why not tell yourself business is booming? Business is great. We're earning $250,000, like Roy said. And then it's going to come to fruition. Maybe not in the way you think it is, but I promise you, like Roy just said, when you talk about it, your frequency is going to go up, your vibration is going to go up, your energy is going to go up, and everything you want is at a higher level, a higher version of yourself.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. When was it a time in your journey that you just, man, you wanted to give up? You were just like, this shit isn't going to work. I'm tired. Um, and what
Yeah.
kept you going, Roy? Because this is entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey. I know I've had some journeys and stints where I was like, I'm just going to go back to the automotive industry. Talk to us about that challenging life when you really had to dig a little bit deeper to push through.
Yeah. I mean, before I hop into that, just you got to also ask yourself, right? Would you hang out with you? If you were trying to surround yourself with other people who are successful, would you hang out with yourself? Would you hire yourself? Would you pay yourself what you're getting paid for now? That's a real good self-audit check, because I have to do that too. It's like the way I talk. Do you think that like most of these ultra high net worth people, they're complaining about politics and complaining about gas prices? I hear people all the time, oh, I can't believe gas is so much. Who cares? If you made more money, you wouldn't even look at it. I don't even know how much gas costs. I have no idea. I just throw it in there, right? So you have to audit yourself too. Like, would you hang out with yourself? And there was multiple times, believe me, I wanted to quit this insurance business so bad. I hated it. God, I mean, I love the concept and being able to help people, but I just couldn't get it. Like, I'm a slow learner. I'm so stubborn and slow. And this is before YouTube was real popular. So, my centers of influence were limited. And I was like, how am I going to actually make this happen? There was multiple times I wanted to quit. I mean, I literally would do door knocking. I slept in my truck for a while. What held me in there was seeing how other people did it. And I knew that I could do it if they could do it. I'm like, this is crazy. I've spoken with this person. They can't even string a sentence together, and they're making 10 times the amount I am. I was so frustrated and pissed off. And I channeled that energy in a positive manner for fuel. I'm like, okay, if they can do it, I know I can do it. Even though I suck and I'm not very good at this yet, I know I can be good at this. I just have to see more people and do more volume. And that's what I did. I just literally increased the volume until I slowly got better at it. And I would, for every 20 people, I'd sell one policy. Then that came all the way down. So every 2 people, I'd sell a policy. But that difference of 20 to 2, it took a few years of banging my head against the wall. But what kept me hanging in there is I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be able to take care and provide for my mom, because at that early stage, I didn't have a family yet. And then I got married. And I was like, wow, I really got to get my stuff together if I'm going to make this happen. And that's what gave me even more fuel to do it. And I always threw myself into uncomfortable positions. I don't recommend this for everybody, but what I would do is I would overextend myself. The very little baby credit card I had in the beginning, I'd max that damn thing out so fast. It was a joke. I didn't care about credit score. I maxed that thing out. And I was like, okay, now I have to pay this off in 30 days. How am I going to do it? I mean, I got to the point, and I still think about some of this stuff. Like, if somebody told you that you're never going to be able to see your kids again, we're going to move them to a different part of the world unless you make 6 figures this year, I promise you would find a way to do it. If you're selling hot dogs or flowers on the freeway, you would find a way. That type of unrelentless discipline and burning desire is what you need to implement. And it takes time to develop that. But that's the total opposite of comfort. So you just have to balance yourself out. But there was a time, even in the recent past, I moved to Texas, moved everything out here, spent all of the money on 2 houses. And then we had this system set up and it was going good. And then the system failed. Our lead flow totally dropped. I was like, what am I going to do? Right. There was no money in the business account, very little in personal savings. And I just kept hammering the phones because the one thing I can control is my activity. I can't control if Daniel Gomez says yes, but I can control if I call him. And so I just kept calling
So
people.
good.
Somebody picked up, and I rolled over one of the biggest deals in my life, and it completely saved our ass. And then from there, we just started perpetuating itself, so you burn the ships. Have like, hey, I'm going to burn. You got to be smart about it too. If you have a family and you have bills, you don't want to just quit your job and start doing some tech thing, or, you got to be methodical about it, but you got to have that mindset of like, this is it. I'm going to make this happen, or I'm going to lose everything. And you'll be amazed what you can actually accomplish.
I want you to do this. I want you to look into the camera. There's an entrepreneur out there that really needs a word of encouragement. They're this close to giving up.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a word of encouragement, Roy, if you don't mind, before we come to the end of the show.
If you picture yourself at the age of 80, sitting in a rocking chair, are you going to have regrets if you quit? If the answer is no, then go ahead. But if you feel that you're going to be sitting there rocking back and forth, say, you know what? I wish I could have done that. I know I could have impacted more people. I could have helped more people. I could have had an amazing life for my family, but I decided to quit. Now, if that makes you feel bad, then don't quit. But if you don't care, then maybe you should quit.
Wow. Powerful, brother. What's a word, a quote, or a scripture that you rely on in times of adversity? A quote or a scripture that Roy relies on the times of adversity?
Oh, that's a good one. There's so many different Psalms and Proverbs. It's really cool. My mom made me like a good proverb sign, and she'll text me different things. So there's just, the faith of a mustard seed can move a mountain. Like, I always think about that because it doesn't take much to do big things. You just have to be consistent with it. And so that's one of the things I always hold on to. And then when I first started in my endeavors of entrepreneurship, I read that Napoleon Hill book, and those people were 3 feet from gold. I always think, I'm like, man, I am just one phone call away from changing my life. And that's happened multiple times. We closed one of the biggest deals in the history of financial services because I made one extra phone call. I didn't feel like it, but it doesn't matter how I feel. I need to produce results. Made that phone call, one of the biggest deals in history. So that's what keeps me hanging on there, because I know I'm so close. And you can look at other people. You got to be careful because you don't want to compare yourself. Then you get disappointed. But you can see how other people have made it and just follow what they've done and study them and be like, wow, if they can make it, why couldn't I? Right? Well, how are your kids going to look at you? Are they going to be like, man, dad's a badass. He just kicks ass. He rock and rolls. He helps so many people and funds all this money to charities with his beautiful house. Or is it going to be like, yeah, dad was a nice guy, and, we had a mediocre life. We didn't go on many trips, so do it for more than just yourself.
Love it, man. How does somebody get a hold of you? They want to work with you, Roy. They want insurance, which I highly recommend you get from Roy.
Yes, please do. And so we have a whole team. Our team's all over the country, but I'm easy to get a hold of. You just Google my name, Roy Snarr, Snarr, and you could just see me all over the internet. And we're here to help. Maybe you're already in the financial services space and you're looking for additional ways to grow your practice. We've done it. We share our whole story with it. Maybe you're a consumer and you're looking to buy some sort of life insurance or cancer insurance or annuity or long-term care. We do all that, and you just can read more about me just by going to roysnarr.com. I'm all over the internet.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here today, Roy. And that's a wrap for this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. If you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, go to our website, themakingsofaMillionaireMind.com. That's themakingsofaMillionaireMind.com. Get your autographed copy here in the United States. We want to help you. And also, if you're an aspiring speaker, September 8th and 9th here in San Antonio, Texas, you see the sign behind me right there, our Sticker Shock Speaking Academy. We've helped hundreds of speakers make thousands of dollars and become paid professional speakers. We want to do the same thing for you. And last but not least, August 25th and 26th. That's August 25th and 26th here in San Antonio. We already have 8 people that signed up for our intimate Makings of a Millionaire Mind Mastermind Weekend Retreat here in our home. We're going to host it in our home because we want you to taste the dream, feel the dream. We're going to have luxury cars for you to drive. You're going to come and you're going to have a mastermind on the water. We want you to be part of our Mastermind Weekend Retreat here in San Antonio, August 25th and 26th. Send me a message or call me at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. 5954. We want to help you elevate and grow your business because it's about you. And like Roy said, you want to do it for not just yourself, but for your family and the people that are around you. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. We'll see you next week with another epic, amazing guest. Thank you, Roy, once again. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.